Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! The mysterious parcel appeared on Justin's doorstep, an unannounced guest, cloaked in a subtle silver wrapping with a delicate pink bow, catching the morning light. He quirked his eyebrows. His curiosity piqued as he recognized the sender's name. It was his birthday, a fact he had almost forgotten amidst the bustle of everyday life. With a playful scowl, he drew the package closer, well aware of the fading connection it represented. Justin, with a hint of nostalgia, took a seat on his aged yet comfortable leather sofa, gently tugging at the ribbon as if unraveling a secret. His fingers grazed the soft paper, uncovering the contents with deliberate care. As he opened it, his pulse quickened in anticipation.
I hope this gift helps you discover a new side of yourself. Love, Maria.
Puzzled, he set the note aside and began removing layers of tissue. His fingers brushed against something silky, and he gasped as he pulled out a pale pink satin dress. Beneath it lay a pair of matching heels and an assortment of makeup. Justin's mind reeled. What was Maria thinking? He'd never expressed any interest in women's clothing or makeup. Yet, as he ran his fingers over the smooth fabric of the dress, an inexplicable warmth spread through his chest.
This is crazy,
he muttered, shaking his head. But curiosity gnawed at him. He glanced around his empty apartment, then back at the dress. What could it hurt to try it on? Just once, in the privacy of his own home? Before he could talk himself out of it, Justin stripped off his jeans and t-shirt. He stepped into the dress, marveling at how the cool satin slid over his skin. Reaching behind his back, he managed to zip it up most of the way. The fabric hugged his waist and flared out at the hips, creating a surprisingly flattering silhouette. Heart pounding, Justin slipped his feet into the heels. They were a perfect fit. He wobbled slightly as he took a few experimental steps, but quickly found his balance. The clickety-clack of the heels on his hardwood floors sent a shiver down his spine. He made his way to the full-length mirror in his bedroom, breath catching in his throat as he caught sight of his reflection. The person staring back at him was different, softer, more graceful. Justin twirled, watching the skirt of the dress fan out around him. A giddy laugh bubbled up from his chest. He felt free, light, as if a weight he hadn't even known he was carrying had been lifted from his shoulders. Remembering the makeup, Justin hurried back to the living room. He'd never applied cosmetics before, but he did his best, carefully applying foundation, blush, and a swipe of pink lipstick. The effect was amateur but transformative. In this moment, she didn't feel like Justin, gazed at her reflection again. She looked beautiful, feminine, right. A name floated to the surface of her mind. Luciana. Hello, Luciana, she whispered to her reflection, a smile spreading across her face. The spell was broken by the buzzing of her phone. Maria's name flashed on the screen. With trembling fingers, Luciana answered. Hello? Justin, did you get my package? Maria's voice was warm, excited. Yes. Maria, I don't know what to say. How did you know? There was a pause on the other end of the line. I didn't know for sure. But I've known you since we were kids, Justin. I've seen the way you look at dresses in store windows, how you always seemed more comfortable around the girls than the boys. I thought, maybe you needed a little push to explore that side of yourself. Tears welled up in Luciana's eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. I feel like myself for the first time." "Oh, honey." Maria's voice was thick with emotion. "I'm so happy for you. Listen, why don't I come over? We can talk, and I can show you some makeup tricks if you'd like." Luciana hesitated for a moment, then nodded even though Maria couldn't see her. "Yes, please. I'd like that very much." An hour later, there was a knock at the door. Luciana's stomach fluttered with nerves as she opened it, revealing Maria's smiling face. Her old friend's eyes widened as she took in Luciana's appearance. "Oh my God," Maria breathed. "You look amazing." Luciana blushed, ducking her head. "Thank you. I'm not sure what I'm doing, really." Maria stepped inside, wrapping Luciana in a warm hug. "That's what I'm here for. Come on, let's get you fixed up properly." The next few hours flew by in a whirlwind of laughter and learning. Maria showed Luciana how to properly apply foundation, blend eyeshadow, and create the perfect cat eye with liquid eyeliner. They giggled over Luciana's clumsy attempts, but soon she was getting the hang of it. "Now for the finishing touch," Maria said, holding up a tube of deep red lipstick. "This shade will look gorgeous with your auburn hair." Luciana leaned in, letting Maria carefully paint her lips. When she looked in the mirror, her breath caught. The woman staring back at her was stunning, confident, radiant.
"Is this really me?"
she whispered. Maria squeezed her shoulder.
"It's always been you, honey. You're just letting her out now."
They spent the rest of the evening talking, catching up on lost time. Luciana found herself opening up about feelings she'd buried for years, how she'd always felt out of place in her own skin, how she'd envied the grace and beauty of women. "I never had the words for it," she admitted. "I didn't know it was possible to feel this way." Maria listened with compassion, offering support and understanding. As the night wore on, Luciana felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. For the first time in her life, she felt truly seen and accepted. "So," Maria said as she prepared to leave, "what happens now?" Luciana bit her lip, considering. I'm not sure. This feels right, but it's all so new. I don't know if I'm ready to tell anyone else yet." Maria nodded. "That's okay. There's no rush. Just know that I'm here for you, whatever you decide. Baby steps, right?" "Right," Luciana agreed, smiling. "Baby steps in fabulous heels." They both laughed, and Maria pulled her into another hug before departing. Luciana closed the door behind her friend, leaning against it with a contented sigh. She caught sight of herself in the hallway mirror and couldn't help but smile. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of discovery for Luciana. She and Maria met regularly, usually at Luciana's apartment where she felt safe to explore her newfound identity. Maria brought over more clothes, flowing skirts, delicate blouses, and curve-hugging dresses, teaching Luciana how to put together outfits that flattered her figure. They practiced makeup techniques, giggling over mishaps like the time Luciana accidentally gave herself Groucho Marx's eyebrows with an overzealous application of brow pencil. But with each attempt, Luciana grew more confident in her skills. Maria also helped Luciana work on her feminine mannerisms, how to sit gracefully, walk in heels without wobbling, and use more fluid hand gestures. It was like learning a whole new language, but one that felt increasingly natural to Luciana. "Remember," Maria advised during one of their sessions, "it's not about putting on an act. It's about letting your true self shine through. These are just tools to help you express who you really are inside. Luciana nodded, absorbing the wisdom. She was beginning to understand that being Luciana wasn't about playing a role. It was about finally being authentic. As her comfort with her feminine side grew, Luciana began to contemplate the next steps. The idea of venturing out in public as Luciana both thrilled and terrified her. What if someone recognized her? What if she faced ridicule, or worse? Maria, ever the supportive friend, suggested a compromise. Why don't we have a girls' night in? We can invite a couple of my most trusted friends, people I know will be accepting. It'll be a safe way for you to interact with others as Luciana. The idea sent butterflies swirling in Luciana's stomach, but she agreed. They set a date for the following weekend, giving Luciana time to prepare mentally and decide on the perfect outfit. The night of the gathering arrived, and Luciana found herself pacing nervously in front of her closet. She'd tried on and discarded half a dozen outfits already. Nothing felt quite right for this momentous occasion. Just as she was about to give up in frustration, her eyes fell on the pink satin dress, the one that had started it all. Luciana smiled, running her hand over the smooth fabric. It seemed fitting to wear it tonight, coming full circle in a way. She slipped into the dress, marveling once again at how it hugged her curves in all the right places. The matching heels completed the look, making her feel tall and confident. Luciana took extra care with her makeup, creating a soft, natural look that enhanced her features without being overly dramatic. As she put the finishing touches on her appearance, there was a knock at the door. Luciana's heart leapt into her throat. This was it. Taking a deep breath, she opened the door to find Maria beaming at her. "Oh, honey," Maria breathed. "You look absolutely stunning." Luciana blushed, smoothing down her dress. "Thank you. I'm so nervous." Maria squeezed her hand reassuringly. "You've got this. Remember, these are my friends. They're going to love you." Nodding, Luciana followed Maria into the living room, where 2 other women were waiting. She recognized them vaguely from photos Maria had shown her. Olivia, a vivacious redhead, and Zoe, a statuesque brunette. "Ladies," Maria announced, "I'd like you to meet Luciana." There was a moment of silence as Olivia and Zoe took in Luciana's appearance. Then Olivia broke into a wide grin. "Well, aren't you just gorgeous? I love that dress on you." Zoe nodded in agreement. "Absolutely beautiful. It's wonderful to meet you, Luciana." The tension in Luciana's shoulders eased slightly. She managed a smile, her voice coming out softer than she intended. "Thank you. It's lovely to meet you both as well." The evening progressed more smoothly than Luciana could have hoped. The women chatted, sipped wine, and snacked on an array of finger foods Maria had prepared. Luciana found herself relaxing, drawn into conversations about fashion, relationships, and their favorite TV shows. At one point, Olivia leaned in conspiratorially. "So, Luciana, dish, any special someone in your life?" Luciana blushed, shaking her head. "No, not at the moment. I'm still figuring things out, I suppose." Zoe nodded understandingly. "Take your time, honey. The right person will come along when you're ready, and let me tell you, when they do, they'll be lucky to have such a beautiful, kind woman in their life." Warmth bloomed in Luciana's chest at the casual acceptance. These women saw her, truly saw her, as Luciana, and it felt incredible. As the night wore on, Luciana found herself opening up more and more. She shared stories from her childhood, carefully editing out details that might reveal her past identity. The other women reciprocated, treating her like any other girlfriend they'd known for years. When Olivia and Zoe finally departed, hugging Luciana warmly and extracting promises to get together again soon, Luciana felt a sense of exhilaration she'd never experienced before. She'd done it. She'd interacted with people as Luciana, and they'd accepted her without question. Maria stayed behind to help clean up, beaming with pride at her friend. "You were amazing!" she gushed. "I knew they'd love you." Luciana smiled, a happy glow suffusing her entire being. "Thank you, Maria, for everything. I don't know where I'd be without you." Maria pulled her into a tight hug. "You'd still be you, honey. I just helped you find the courage to let her out." As Luciana lay in bed that night, still buzzing from the evening's success, she found herself contemplating the future. For the first time, she could envision a life as Luciana, not just in private moments or with a select few friends, but out in the world. The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. There would be challenges ahead, she knew, telling her family, navigating the workplace, dealing with potential discrimination. But for the first time, Luciana felt strong enough to face those challenges. She drifted off to sleep with a smile on her face, dreaming of a future where she could be her true self every day. The next few months were a whirlwind of growth and discovery for Luciana. With Maria's unwavering support and the acceptance of their growing circle of friends, Luciana began to venture out into the world as her true self more frequently. It started small, quick trips to the corner store, walks in the park on quiet weekday mornings. Each successful outing bolstered Luciana's confidence. She reveled in the feeling of the sun on her face, the breeze ruffling her auburn hair as she strolled down the street in a flowing sundress. There were moments of anxiety, of course. The first time someone called her ma'am in public, Luciana's heart nearly stopped. But when she realized it was a genuine, respectful acknowledgement of her presented gender, a wave of euphoria washed over her. As her comfort grew, so did her ambitions. Luciana began to consider the possibility of transitioning more permanently. She started researching hormone therapy and other medical options, discussing her findings with Maria late into the night. "I think I want to do this," Luciana confessed one evening as they sat on her balcony, watching the sunset. "I want to live as Luciana full-time. I want my outside to match how I feel inside." Maria squeezed her hand. "I'm so proud of you for figuring that out. Whatever you decide, I'm here for you, every step of the way." The road ahead wasn't easy. Luciana had to navigate the complex healthcare system, finding doctors who were knowledgeable and supportive of transgender patients. She started hormone therapy, marveling at the gradual changes in her body, softer skin, subtle shifts in fat distribution that enhanced her curves. One of the biggest hurdles was coming out to her family. Luciana agonized over how to tell them, writing and rewriting a letter explaining her journey. When she finally gathered the courage to send it, the days of waiting for a response were agonizing. To her immense relief and joy, her parents responded with love and support. There was confusion, yes, and a period of adjustment, but they assured Luciana that they loved her unconditionally and wanted her to be happy. "We may not understand everything," her mother said during their first video call after Luciana's revelation. "But we can see how much happier you are. That's all we've ever wanted for you, sweetheart." Tears streamed down Luciana's face as she talked with her parents, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. The fear of rejection had been a constant presence, and to have it replaced with acceptance was overwhelming. As Luciana became more comfortable in her identity, she began to consider how to navigate her professional life. She'd been working remotely for the past few months, which had made her initial transition easier, but she knew she'd eventually have to address the situation with her employer. After much discussion with Maria and her therapist, Luciana decided to be upfront with her company. She scheduled a meeting with her boss and HR representative, her stomach in knots, as she explained her situation and her intention to return to the office as Luciana. To her surprise and relief, her employer was supportive. They worked with her to create a transition plan, including how to inform her colleagues and clients. It wasn't always smooth sailing. There were awkward moments and the occasional insensitive comment, but overall, Luciana found her workplace to be accepting. As the months passed, Luciana blossomed. Her confidence grew, and she began to truly inhabit her identity. She no longer felt like she was playing a role or putting on a costume. She was simply being herself. One sunny Saturday afternoon, almost a year after that fateful birthday package arrived, Luciana stood in front of her mirror, barely recognizing the woman who gazed back at her. Gone was the hesitant, unsure person who had first tried on that pink satin dress. In her place stood a confident, radiant woman with a megawatt smile. Luciana was wearing that very same dress, now altered slightly to fit her changing body. She'd paired it with the same heels, but her makeup skills had improved dramatically. Her auburn hair, longer now, fell in soft waves around her shoulders. A knock at the door pulled her from her reverie. She opened it to find Maria, grinning widely. "Ready for your big day?" Luciana nodded, taking a deep breath. Today was the day of her official name change ceremony. She'd invited a small group of friends and family to celebrate this milestone in her journey. As they drove to the courthouse, Luciana reflected on how far she'd come. There had been challenges, certainly, moments of doubt, of fear, of frustration, but there had also been joy, discovery, and a sense of finally being at home in her own skin. The ceremony itself was brief but emotional. As the judge pronounced her new name, Luciana Maria Rossi, incorporating her dear friend's name as a middle name, tears of joy streamed down her face. She looked out at the small crowd of loved ones, all beaming with pride and affection. Afterwards, they gathered at Luciana's favorite restaurant for a celebration. As Luciana looked around the table at the faces of those who had supported her throughout her journey, she felt a profound sense of gratitude. Her parents, who had made such an effort to understand and support her, Maria, her rock and guiding light, new friends like Olivia and Zoe, who had accepted her without question, colleagues who had rallied around her during her workplace transition. As the evening wound down, Maria raised her glass in a toast.
"To Luciana,"
she said, her voice thick with emotion. "Who had the courage to become who she was always meant to be? We're so proud of you, and so honored to be part of your journey." Luciana blinked back tears as she raised her own glass. "And to all of you," she added, "for your love, your support, and for seeing me, the real me, even when I couldn't see myself. I wouldn't be here without you." Later that night, as Luciana prepared for bed, she caught sight of herself in the mirror once more. She smiled at her reflection, marveling at how natural it felt now to see Luciana staring back at her. She thought back to that day, a year ago, when she'd first opened Maria's package. How scared and confused she'd been, how she'd never imagined the journey that lay ahead. Now, as she stood there, fully and unapologetically herself, Luciana felt a sense of peace wash over her. The road hadn't always been easy, and she knew there would be more challenges ahead. But she was ready to face them, secure in who she was and surrounded by love and support. As she drifted off to sleep, Luciana smiled. For the first time in her life, she was truly, completely home.
Thanks for watching my girlies. Be sure to check out Patreon for more.